So I am Master Sergeant retired Rebekka Cary. I'm also your Columbia County Veteran Service Officer. And if you don't know what that is or what we do, please come and see me while you eat your meal. And I would be happy to talk all day about what our office does for our veterans. But I'm proud to be part of this event. So thank you very much, Morgan, for the invite. And I want to talk a little bit about today about the women who have served our military, including myself. But before I get to that, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in today's world. Many of my fellow veterans are upset and angry about the situation in Afghanistan. I get it. I understand how they can be thinking, what the heck was it all for? Why did I go through hell over there? Why did I lose so many battle buddies or even my best friend? What was it all for? And not only the veterans of Afghanistan, but many previous veterans, including those from Vietnam, Korea, and other wars, are also bringing up those feelings. What was it all for? They're sad, they're angry, and they're hurting. I'm not here to give you my opinion about what's going on. I am here to ask you to be there for those veterans. I ask you to not politicize how they feel. I ask you to not downplay how they feel. I ask you to not argue with their feelings. Listen to them. Hear their grief. Hear their hurt. Many of them have invisible wounds that you will never know of or understand. So please, I beg of you to look out for each other. Don't be afraid to ask them if they're afraid of hurting themselves. I know how uncomfortable that can be to ask that question, but too many of our veterans take their own lives because of wounds that no one else can see. So please, in the wake of everything that is happening in the world today, take care of each other and look out for each other. And since I couldn't think of a really clever transition from that into talking about women's veterans, I'm just going to switch up gears and now talk about women's veterans. Long before the women had the right to vote or even own property, women were serving their country, facing danger, risking their lives, even dressing up like men so they'd be allowed to serve. Women have served in the United States military as early as the Revolutionary War. Since then, women of all ages, ranks, and levels of authority have entered every branch of service, made significant contributions, and suffered the same sacrifices as men. And it's never been an easy path. I know how challenging it has been, and it continues to be. I know that most of the female soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen have faced skepticism and ridicule at some point in doing their military career. Some of them have had to contend with not just the challenge of doing their job, but with others' perceptions that they weren't up to doing the job simply because of their gender. In 2015, women comprised only 9.4% of the veteran population. In 2017, only 17.5% of the currently serving military service is women. I joined the military in September of 1993 at the beginning of my senior year in high school. Many of my classmates said, "Why is she joining? She's never going to make it." But I had goals in my life, and joining the military was going to help me accomplish those goals, so I didn't let their snide remarks deter me. My plan was to complete my 6-year enlistment and move on with those goals that I had set. Never did I imagine that 22 and a half years later would I finally leave the military behind and retire. When I first enlisted, there were many jobs a woman was not allowed to hold. They couldn't hold a combat position or any position that would primarily enroll them in combat engagement. That was okay with me. I didn't want a combat position. I wasn't trying to prove that I could fit into a man's world. As a matter of fact, I wasn't trying to prove anything to anybody except myself. I had my eyes set on those goals in my life. However, today, there are very few limitations on a position a woman can hold, and I am very happy for that. I have known plenty of women throughout my career that could certainly hold their own in a combat position and easily meet the physical standards of that position. I've also known plenty of men that couldn't. I am so happy for the women serving today that the door has been opened to them. The military seems to continue to open its eyes to the contributions that females can offer. For example, Coast Guard Commander Dorothy Stratton, who led the SPARS during World War II, said, "We want to serve our country in its time of need." Jennifer Greaves made history by becoming the first woman Marine One aircraft commander and commanding the first ever all-female flight crew. Tammy Duckworth flew combat missions in Iraq and lost both her legs when her helicopter was hit by a grenade. She went on to become a fearless advocate for veterans and wounded warriors. Look to the example of women like Amy Krieger, who lost her life in the unthinkable violence at Fort Hood. Amy had enlisted in the Army after the September 11th attacks, and when her mother told her she couldn't take on Osama bin Laden all by herself, Amy simply replied, "Watch me." As Air Force veteran Dr. Donna Lorraine put it, and this is a quote, to be a success, a woman has to be confident, self-assured, persistent, and have a great sense of humor. At times, you had to employ a certain desperate deviousness to get the job done. So we, and by we I mean the females, had to work a little harder and a little smarter. We may have felt alone at times. We may have gotten downright discouraged, but we stuck it out, each and every one of us. We found colleagues to support us of all genders and all races and all backgrounds. We found superiors who pushed us and encouraged us. And then we rose to the challenge. We rose and we found opportunities to advance and build exciting, amazing careers. And along the way, we broke one brass ceiling after another. Those stereotypes still exist. Just a few months ago, a good friend of mine and a fellow military retiree was at a store in Portage wearing her Army retiree hat. A man actually walked by her and said, "This is a first, a female posing as a military retiree." Yes, she confronted him. Many times when taking care of my business with the military, I have been asked for my sponsor's social security number. For those of you who don't know, the sponsor is the military member, and I have to stop and go, I am the sponsor. When I first joined the VFW and American Legion and would go to any function, I would be asked, "Are you here to be in the auxiliary?" Well, I think the auxiliary is a superb organization, and I could be a member since my husband is also a veteran. I had to explain to them that no, I am the veteran and I'm here to be a member. I have plenty more examples, but we don't have all day and I know you're all hungry. My message to you is this. I hope you all know that our service, our legacy, is more than just our own service. I hope you know that our legacy will be measured in the service of every woman that follows in the trails that we have blazed. Every woman who benefits from our daring and our determination. It will be measured in the inspiration we provide to our daughters and our granddaughters and to our sons and grandsons. Because of women who have served since the Revolutionary War, when young women wonder how they can rise in our military, they can look at General Ann Dunwoody and her 4 hard-earned stars. They can see it. It's real. When they ask what kind of jobs they can do, they can look to women like all of us who have played just about every role imaginable. And when they ask whether they can cut it, whether they ask when they have what it takes to succeed, all they have to do is look at your lives. Look at your careers and what you've developed to inspire us all. Amy Krieger said, "Watch me." And I think more than anything, that phrase, "watch me," sums up the spirit of our women in uniform throughout our history. When others doubt us, or dismissed us, or questioned whether we could endure the training and complete the mission, our response was, "Watch me," right? Watch me succeed. Watch me risk everything I have for the country that I love. Watch me do my part to protect this nation and protect this union. Watch me. So I thank all the veterans here in our presence, but especially the women, for your courage and your service. And don't assume that just because some of us sometimes look girly and wear skirts and get our nails done, that we don't know what it's like to get down and dirty and pull our share of duty. And to all those women who paved the way before me, thank you.